Good afternoon, family. This is Vibe 609 radio station featuring The Way Out Show. You know who I am, of course, King Salam, the ambassador of inspiration. Today we're going to talk about juvenile injustice. So I need y'all to be a little patient, put on your seatbelt, and ride with me on this knowledge journey for a minute because this is a very serious topic. Very serious. It's about our babies, and I'm talking about the black babies in this country that at an alarming rate, they are taking out juveniles and bumping them up to adults when they commit certain crimes. I guess violence, armed robberies, what have you. And a crime that may take or fit 10 years, they bumping our little 14, 15, 16, and 17-year-old kids up to adults and giving them from 30 years to 50-something years to 60-something years. So you draw it up. You listen and draw it up. You do the math. So now, with hundreds of black kids getting this kind of time with DOC, and they getting 30 years, you count that. That's 3 decades, 10, 20, 30. No child is being born. The mother that had this child never gets a grandchild from this young man. This young man never dated, never had a female companion, never know what it is for his masculinity to rub up against femininity in just a friendly way. They destroyed our generations of our leaders that could possibly be presidents, judges, council people, governors, school teachers, whatever, trash men, mailmen. They're destroying our kids at a very alarming rate in this country. We have more people incarcerated than most countries have in their population. But the sad part of the story is that black folk, newsflash, we act like it's a party and it don't matter. We busting bottles and paying all this money for busting bottles and all this money for gator shoes and ostriches and lizards and all the exotic materials. And if you could afford it, by all means, I can't tell you what to do with your money. By all means, get it. But that same money could help your kid out or somebody's kid who had this juvenile injustice thrown upon them. And we could throw it in the pot to help these kids get some kind of remedy that they don't deserve. I don't believe a 15-year-old kid deserves to get no 60-something years, 70 years, 30 years. A lot of kids that went down years ago that was 15 are just getting out now. They done did 35 to 40 years and they just coming out of the penitentiary now. Now, our most recent juveniles that's going in with fresh 60s, 40s, 75, 50, 30, 25, 30 to life, etc. What you think that's going to do to them and to our generations? Where that's going to leave us at? It's genocide. It's genocide on another level, if you ask me. And in a lot of cases, it's genocide mixed with suicide. But what bothers me deeply is that, especially the menfolk, black men, we're not coming together to do anything about it. And I'm not talking about you have to fight and get a gun and a bomb and go blow somebody up. I'm talking about just getting a petition, going to meetings, inquiring why, and where did this law come from, and what's the root and the nature of this, and why is this here, and why are you putting so many of these babies in the penitentiary? Why? When in fact, a lot of them is in the penitentiary, the ones that didn't do the crime but might have been with the people that did the crime, they get the same thing as the perpetrator that did the crime. A kid do a shooting, he's 15, and they prove that he shot the guy and killed him. They bump him up, he get 40-something years. But then the other guy that was with him that just was hanging out for whatever the reason, he get 40 years too. as a conspirator. So the conspiracy carries as much as the perpetrator. And then you got families that go see their relatives and they say, be good, it's going to be all right. Don't be bad. Just do what they tell you to do. It's going to be all right. No, it's not going to be all right. I have 1 year in it and I'm 15 years old and I have 40-something more years to do. You telling me it's going to be all right. So we have to ask ourselves, the adults, what is wrong with our mental health that we allow these people to keep throwing our children away like trash and not doing nothing about it, not even speaking up for it. We have all these podcasts and all these shows and worrying about Puffy and who did this and so did that and so was in this lifestyle and that lifestyle. But our kids are being destroyed and being murdered and nothing is being said and or done. I have a problem with that. So somebody out there that's smart or let me say that this devil advocate. So what are you doing? That's none of your business. I'm doing a lot. I'm doing a lot. And did a lot with the Black Men United Coalition. And did a lot with boots on the ground. Going throughout the hoods, talking, feeling out the young people, talking to them, seeing what's the problem, what's up, what's wrong with you, why is this bothering you, why is this ticking you off? We need to talk to our young people, not talk at them, but talk with them. We need to let them talk and explain themselves by any means necessary, however they have to explain themselves. We had to stop telling them what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and where to do it at, and just ask them, well, how do you feel about this? Let me hear your take on this. We need to do more of this. And you got people out there that's working, don't get me wrong. You got people out there that's working. You have programs that's working tremendously out there, and I won't name any of them, but they doing their thing. And I salute them. But we need everybody, all hands on deck. They destroying our future generations. It kind of like remind me of the story of Pharaoh. When Pharaoh thought that he was God, similar to this government, think they God, they want to rule every country in the world, America, United Snakes of America, 3 Ks, America. And Pharaoh found out through his staff that a Messiah was being born. So if a Messiah was being born, then the children of Israel or the Israelites would get somebody that would come and rescue them and bring freedom, justice, and equality to the forefront. So Pharaoh got with his people, said we have to kill all first male born right away. So this way, when the Messiah is to arrive, he won't arrive because we be done killed him. And y'all know how the story go. Well, in this modern day and time, the same Pharaoh is telling black folks the same thing. So we went from 2A law, from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, to the 80s, 2A law, to the 2C law. And the 2C law was the assassination of black folks, period. If a man stole a loaf of bread because he was hungry, he got a 5 stipulation. He did 5 years for stealing a loaf of bread because he was hungry. He didn't get a pre-sentence report to find out that he was hungry and then found out why he was hungry and then made it a possibility for him to even take up a trade or get a job so he can feed his people so he wouldn't have to steal a loaf of bread. But they'd rather put him in prison for the 5 years as opposed to getting him educated. It costs less to educate a person in this country going to college and everything than it does to keep a person incarcerated. It costs more to keep them incarcerated. It doesn't make sense. You can educate them and get more out of them, more use, but you rather throw them away and discard them and throw them into the penitentiary, and it costs them more for them to do nothing but for you guys to retire. 10 steps, 20 steps, 30 steps, 40 steps, and all that time, most COs has the ability to retire comfortably without ever worrying about their job. Because you got a 20 stip and a 30 stip and a 40 stip and a 50 stip, 75, on up to 100 years. Surely their retirement plan is locked in, etched in stone. They don't have to worry about anything. So they don't care if you did the crime or not. They look at us as commodities and dollar signs and no feeling and no humanism. And I'm not mad at them for that. I'm not mad at them. You do what you do. I'm mad at the people, which is my folks, who see their kids going down and getting dogged by this juvenile injustice and don't do nothing. The women can't do it all by themselves, brothers. The women can't do it all by themselves. Fathers, grandfathers, uncles, older brother, cousins, adopted fathers, stepfathers, etc. We got to step up, men. We have to step up. And some women don't know how it go with this law. They don't know how cruel and snakish these people are. We do. We have to show them the moves, and we have to show them the methodology and the strategy on how to save our children from this ugly poison called DOC. DOC, Goliath. David killed Goliath with a slingshot. Well, you can't use a slingshot in this day and time. You have to get lawyers, you have to get people behind you, and you have to get in those books and then show up and show out wherever it need to be to save our kids' lives. I love you. I'm going to come visit you next week. Don't be bad. It's going to be all right. How's it going to be all right? Now he has 10 years in, and he has 30 more years to go. How can you possibly look at your kid, hug him and kiss him after the visit is over, and then say, be good, it's going to be all right? And how can you be good to a system that ain't no good? You tell me. So what are we going to do, people? What are we going to do? If it's not us, then who? If it's not now, when? When are we going to help our children that they throw away like garbage and trash and give them all this time like it's nothing? And we stand there and after it's over and tell the judge, thank you, or tell the prosecutor, thank you. Thank you for what? I think at the age of 21, you have to be 21 to legally be able to get cigarettes or vapes or whatever like that, alcohol. To get alcohol, you have to be at the legal age of 21, I believe. 21. To get alcohol and smoking paraphernalia, etc. 21. But a 14 to 16 to 17-year-old kid, you could bump them up to an adult and get them 40 to 50 years for a crime that you took out of content with the time. It's an overkill. It's an overkill. You give a 15-year-old kid 75 years is an overkill. But you're going to keep doing it because we're not doing nothing. I'm talking to black folk right now. We're not doing nothing. So they're going to keep killing our kids. They're going to keep throwing them in there. They're going to keep beating them. They're going to keep giving them medication, and they're going to keep being zombies. They're going to keep telling them, oh, you bipolar, you this, you that, you this, all this new stuff. When we was in the 70s, 60s, and 70s, on to the early 80s, I never even heard of half of these names now. Half of these names they got out now. Bipolar, Spinderola, this, that, a pill for this, a pill for that. A pill like old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, with a quack here and a quack and a quack everywhere. We got to stop being ducks, man, and stand up for our loved ones, man. In 40-something years, there's not a black boy or girl being born because that man that was going to father them, he cannot have a child. So he got a double penalty. He got sentenced for 40-something years for doing the crime, and he's sentenced also to never produce no children. That's double jeopardy. That's double jeopardy. They don't even have conjugal visits. Any other state, they have conjugal visits. When you get married, at least you once you get of age. In Jersey, they don't have that stuff. It's a double whammy. And we sitting around like, oh, well, what could I do? Find out. You find out everything else, Google it. If you got an Android, Google it. If you have an iPhone, go to Siri. Hey, Siri! And then stand up and do something about it. I'm not trying to be a comedian. It disturbs me. It disturbs me that we allow this. We talk about everything else. We talk about this man and woman relationship, what you got to do to keep your woman, what you got to do to keep your man, but we're letting our kids go down the drain. We don't have no future. Then the ones that's out here mostly is disrespectful. And they demons. You know, I'm a demon. So what are we going to do, people? What are we going to do? I would like to know. I'll sit down with any of y'all. We sit at a table, and you might have the answer, and I'll be down with you. Excuse me, if it's workable. If it's workable and it'll help some folks get out of there or get lesser time than they have. I have a nephew in there. He got about like 40-something years. I have other relatives in there for about 30-something years. 30-something years. 10, 20, 30. And then you're not guaranteed to get out after that anyway. So what are we going to do? Ask yourself, what are we going to do? I'm not asking that question for me. It's a rhetorical statement. What are you going to ask yourself? What are you going to do? You're going to pick up the phone? You're going to write a letter? You're going to help get a petition? Who's who? Oh, my child didn't get that. Yeah, but your neighbor's child is your child, because if it happens to your neighbor's child tomorrow or next week or next month, it's going to be your child. So you got to kill it before it multiplies. Every child is my child. And I'm not saying that some people didn't do what they said they did to get in there. I'm not saying that. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. But one thing I do know, a 15-year-old kid and 75 years or 65 years on top of them is an overkill. Their mind is not even to an adult level yet. So there's some hope of some redeemability in that particular child to be redeemed if the system was set up to take out time to have some care and concern to use the methods of redeemability for that kid or for those kids. I'm talking about the black folks now that you put in there and get that time to, because those are the only ones that's getting it. Several years back, it was a little Caucasian kid that ran over two people with a car and killed them, drunk driving or whatever. And they went to give him some time. They was going to bump him up to an adult, but because his family was filthy rich, I forgot the name and I don't have the papers in front of me. It was a thing called Influenzo or something. It's a funny name. I'm going to get it and have it for you the next time. So we could talk, we could discuss this together. And they gave this kid, for killing two people, drunk driving, ran him over, murdered him, and admitted to it. And they said because of his upbringing, and he never had the mentality, for whatever the excuse was, that he wasn't mature enough or of a level mentally to understand what he did and why. So therefore they gave him a couple years probation. But me and your kid is in there with 50 years, 75 years, 40 years, 35 years. What's the difference? I don't know. Maybe you could tell me. In this great country of United States of America. United States of America. And all I'm saying to you now, family, in closing, we have to do something. If you don't want to come together to do it, then do it in your spaces individually, and the information would come together, and it still would help our children, it would help our babies. They babies, 15 and 16, they don't have no mentality. No one was sure. They might have did this shorty at the law or think they tough. They really don't know. The psychologists will tell you that about the level of mentality. They'll tell you that. So who made the rule to bump them up to adults from a juvie and then give them an overkill? Who's benefiting from this? Because DOC, I hear, is like privately owned. So what you have to pay somebody real money out here in society get, you pay them pennies in there, nickels, 25 cents, 50 cents, a dollar, and get the product done for cheap labor because the fact that they got 40, 50-something years and they're incarcerated. So they back to being a slave again. Constitution. Yep. So once you commit a capital crime, then you back in slavery. You're only free when you don't commit no capital crimes. So we have to wake up and do something about it. And all you programs and committees that's already doing something about it, I commend you all and salute you. But you have to, I'm not telling you, suggestion, but you should turn the volume up. This stuff is serious. This is serious. Them children have a spark of redeemability. When you take a 14-year-old and a 15 and 16-year-old and give them 75 years, you killed that person and everything in them. And you killed their whole family too that's out on the outside. They killed too. They just don't know what to do. They just dead man walking because you killed them. Took their loved ones. You did an overkill, Mr. Prosecutor. So with that, family, you have a good time. Be good to yourself. Love each other. Let each other know you care about each other. Don't let nobody guess. Tell your mom you love her. Tell your dad you love him. Give him a hug. Thank him, even if you're mad at him. Because it wasn't for them you couldn't be here. It wasn't for the Creator, none of us could be here. Tell your brother how you feel. Tell your sister how you feel. Even though she wore your shoes and didn't tell you and you mad at her and you start, don't fight over material things. Make up. Life is too short for the nonsense. And these people is wiping us out. And we having a party like it's all right while they wiping us out. I think having a party numbs the reality of us realizing that we really have to stand up and do something about it. So if I drown myself with alcohol, if I load my throat up with pills and it numb me and sniff dope and smoke crack pipes and whatever else I do to get high and drink bottles after bottle after bottle and blunt after blunt after blunt, it'll numb me and it'll arrest my ability to fight with self-defense to help save my babies and to help save my people because I'm so numbed, I'm so wore down, I'm so high, but really I'm low, that I don't even want to fight. No, all I want to do is chill. Everybody just want to chill. It ain't about chilling. It's about the struggle. It ain't about chilling. When a man and a woman was in the process of having a child and all the cells was racing for life, they wasn't chilling, they was racing, they was struggling. Only one made it, which was you, me, him, her, them. So then the child struggles to get out the mother's stomach when she's impregnated. Then once the child is delivered from fighting to try to get out, then the child is out and the child still has to fight all the way until the child dies. There's no cooling out. There's no cooling out. I don't know who told you that. It's peace, it's tranquility in the ability to have the courage to strive and fight for what's right. And the peace and the tranquility come side by side with that, like peanut butter and jelly. But if we're afraid to fight for our own lives and our children's lives, then we never really lived. And we're not living. Dead man walking, dead woman walking. So, again, to the men, let us stand up and help our women folk, help our children. Believe you me, they play tough all they want, but when they're in them cells at night, And when they say count up, and they come around with them keys, counting up, and you lay down, you better believe them young men's hearts is bleeding and they crying. And some of them is laying in a fetal position and saying, how the hell did I get in this situation? And some is saying, if I woulda, shoulda, coulda. And some is saying, only if I could turn back the hands of time, I wouldn't have went down that street. Damn. And we out here having a ball and not even try to strategize or make a plan on how to free the slave, which is our relatives or our neighbor or our best friend's friend. So with that, dear beloved family, be good to yourself. And I'll see you, same station, same time, but another day, on the way out.